you know, I'm not going to ever say wins or losses, this or that, but at the end of the day, the factor for us is to be able to get into a game and compete, find a way to be able to get the game into the fourth quarter. If you look back at history, over the last few years, there's not been a lot of games where these kids have been in a position in the fourth quarter to where they have to go make plays to be able to win. And that is something we have to be able to develop. As coaches, I think we can prepare kids during the week. It's our job. I think we can prepare ourselves throughout the off season. I think that we can put a game plan together, but at the end of the day, to get there in the fourth quarter, when you win games or when you lose games, I think that a young man has to be able to make a play. The schedule doesn't really. I've always been a true believer that there's not very many stadiums I've ever been to in my life where I look at it and say, holy cow, this home field advantage is just, that's why we lost the game. I mean, we travel well. Everybody in the country, there's big time Division I football. People travel well. They get on an airplane. It's not like like they're sticking, needles in your seat when you're driving in the bus or flying in the plane to go play a game. It's not a big issue. You need to prepare for the crowd noise. I know there's some noisy places that we're headed off to, but I'm never going to use it as because we have that many road games on the road this year. We only have 5 home games or whatever it is, because that's why we're losing games. So I know we play some great opponents. We open up with maybe the hottest team in America. We play BYU, who's won 10 games for a few years in a row now, and we go to Texas A&M, which is obviously going to be a tough place to go play, and it's a long trip, but that will not be an excuse to how we play. So the one thing I would say about that is I think Mr. Barnes has done a great job. As our athletic director, Scott Barnes, has done a tremendous job of future scheduling, giving us an opportunity to be able to go out and play whoever that may be. Some people, you want to call it a money game, you want to call it whatever it's going to be, but we have the opportunity to go play one of those games, and then we're going to have the opportunity in future years to be able to play 6 home games every single year, which is big for us. That's not happened many times at Utah State over the last 10 years, but that'll happen every year starting next year for hopefully for a long time.
Kurt Cragthorpe, Salt Lake Tribune. Gary, when you talk about 15 players moving, is that from offense to defense or within the defense?
From offense to defense and within the defense. So we had 3 safeties that we moved up, that were playing safeties, that moved up and played linebacker now. 2 linebackers that moved up and played defensive line. And then there's a number of kids that moved over from the offensive side of the ball. Even an offensive lineman moved over and played defensive line, and some running backs that had moved over. Atkinson moved over and plays linebacker. Curtis Marsh was a running back, moved over and played in corner. So it was just we just felt like we really needed, for what we believe in, again, I just say what we believe in, to play an aggressive, fast, up-tempo type of defense, you've got to be able to run. And so we can't put enough emphasis on speed on the defensive side, so we had to tweak that as much as possible. So, and that takes time. I've been around great players. It takes some time for them to develop in those positions, but I think it'll pay dividends as we go into the future here.
Coach Dan Hinksman with the Reno Gazette-Journal. If you could talk a little bit about the challenges of taking over a program that has struggled. Is there anything different in this situation than maybe if you take over at Utah or something like that?
Well, yeah, the biggest difference I would say with taking over at Utah is it's established, Reno, very, very obviously established within facilities and the things. I've seen those facilities. I saw them a few years ago when I was at Southern Utah, and they were building the facility they were building, and I went through last year and saw what the facilities are. They've had them for a few years, and they've had a winning tradition. So I would say the biggest difference for us is we have a lot of things that Utah State hasn't had before. We have a unique opportunity with again, the ability to be able to get coaches in, pay coaches, the ability to have a brand new facility, the ability to be able to sell Logan as for what Logan truly is, which is a tremendous community in today's environment, in today's world. I think that the community of Logan and Cache Valley is a great place for a young man to go. So we have some unique opportunities there. I think the timing is very, very good. But the biggest thing that I would say for me is there's a lot of familiarity. It's very calming for me from a recruiting standpoint, from the ability to be able to walk in there and say, we want to recruit Polynesian kids. We want to build an LDS program within our own football program, and we want to recruit the state of Utah. I've done that for 11 years. It's not like I'm going to another part of the country I have no idea, and I'm going to say I want to do this. So that's a big positive for us at the end of the day. So I think we have a great opportunity, and we need to take advantage of it. But overall, it's there's stress and those days, but we're in a good situation, I think, and it's pretty status quo for me anyway.
Coach Tom Scott, KTVB. Are you going to be doing anything differently with Burrell than the previous staff?
Yeah, I'd say we're more of a spread offense. Our goal is to be able to truly get him in a position to use his athletic ability. I would say that the transition that anybody would want, no matter what, through DeAndre's sophomore year into his junior year, would give him the ability to be able to get to the second, third, and fourth receiver. I mean, that's something that he needs to truly be able to do to develop his game instead of just saying, "There's one, I'm going to rely on my legs." If you look at look at Reno and you look at Boise and you see through the years, you watch Fresno State and Louisiana Tech, the quarterbacks that have come through here, and I don't know the league overly well, but from what I do see is I see some quarterbacks in this league that have the ability to beat you with their mind, beat you with their feet, and beat you with their arms, and that's what we have to get out of DeAndre. DeAndre's a great athlete. He can make you miss in space. He can run. We want to limit those hits. We want to keep him on the field for every game that we're playing. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're able to let him progress in his game to be able to become a well-rounded quarterback and be able to beat him in the three ways I just talked about, with his mind, his feet, and his legs.
Coach, Brian Murphy with the Idaho Statesman up in Boise. You talked about Boise State being sort of a target for you as coming into the league. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Yep.
And what is it about them? And do you think you've been in a league where several different teams have rotated at the top? Do you think it's good, bad for the league to have one team sort of rule the roost for a while?
Okay. Well, I would just say this: when I played at Utah and when I coached at Utah at the beginning with Coach Mack, it was BYU. We chased BYU. You had to. I mean, if you're not, what are you doing? If we can't if anybody is going to look in this league and they're going to look and say Boise's not the dominant team in this league, they're crazy. I mean, it's not real hard to see. And is it going to be this year? And who knows? But I know that what they've done is special. And their consistency, I guess, is what I look at more than what they did last year or what they've done the last. I'm looking and saying, what have they done for 10 years? And from coaching changes to the consistency that they've had. And so that's what we want to be at the end of the day. And is that bad for a league? It's bad for everybody else but Boise. I mean, that's the best thing. That's the only way I can really answer that question. But we need to be able to set our sights and want to be a program with the consistency and the long bowl record and the national recognition that and just the whole stature that Boise has. If you don't want to be that right now, then I don't understand that mindset that you have as a head football coach if you wouldn't like to chase that.
You said the WAC is kind of foreign to you. Have you devoted any time this summer to looking at some of these opponents just to find out about style of play or anything like that? And regardless, what's your sense of how the league compares to the teams you're used to playing in the old conference?
Probably not enough time watching the other teams. I know that the offensive coaches, defensive, Dave Baldwin, Bill Bush, have spent a ton of time. In fact, they're up there today really focusing in on WAC opponents and trying to get a feel of what's going on. We got a little, Alex Gerke came from Hawaii, so that gives us a little bit of a sense of what some of the teams have done in the past. But I just really do not know. I watched last year. I got the opportunity to see a lot of games on ESPN, obviously, when we're sitting in a hotel on Friday night games. There's a WAC game on. We got an opportunity to see a lot of those games on TV. But our ability to go out and say that I've devoted a lot of time to WAC opponents at this point, no, I truly haven't. I've tried to really focus in on what we need to do, which is to get bigger, faster, stronger, and take care of our business academically and socially, be a football team that represents Cache Valley well. So we'll get into that as we go. It's time to take that step. But I have a ton of respect for the WAC just from understanding when they cross over with the Mountain West, which was obviously the conference that I know the best. There's competitive games. They usually go down to the wire. And I have a great respect for many coaches in this league. I mean, that's pretty simple. Pat Hill is, Coach Mack way back when, and Pat Hill were together. Who knows when that was? That was a long time ago. When I was a little kid, they were coaching together. I think it was wherever they were, San Jose State, or they talk about it all the time. But great coaches and NFL coaches, and You know, Coach Dooley's done a great job with what he's built there, and I mean, I can go on and on and on with all the coaches that are there, but I just have a huge